Welcome back to AV Veterans Talk. We're continuing our conversation with this week's guest, Jodi Champagne.
So we're back here with Jodi and looking at some of your battlefield artifacts here, and one of those things to where, when you pick up and I do it with the aviation crash sites and things like that, when I see a spent round or something like this, and, if you're that spiritual individual, you realize the soldier carrying this into battle, firing it, and the history of, of what this object and stuff was involved with, and it really kind of brings it all to life, and stuff. Yeah, you just picked it up off of a battlefield, but realizing that battlefield was live one time, and there were men struggling to survive each day, and this was going on. So, it's important. I know in your book's going to cover this aspect of the battles, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. How's your book's? It's going to tell this story. How's it laid out? What is actually the content's going to be, and how does this stuff interact with your book?
Okay. Well, I call my books hybrids because they're not a photographic book and they're not a novel. They're a little mixture of both.
Right.
And with this book, there are several different, shall we say, categories. I'll talk about the adopters, which is a big deal part of this. The soldiers, the families of the soldiers once they're found, and as well as the artifacts, the bombs, live or dead, bombs that are found by the farmers. I'm in the midst of possibly talking with one of the farmers that instead of calling them to have them come and pick up, he kept putting them into his barn until I had about 40 bombs, live bombs, and then have them come and pick it up and stuff like that. Because once they do find something, it slows their farming down, and it costs them money and that. So, but anyway, so we'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about the heart-wrenching process of finding bodies and what happens when they go and they're, let's say for an example, building a new road or putting a gas pipe in, and when they do that, they're actually finding bodies, or they're actually finding original trenches that are still encased and covered, but the wood pieces of holding up the walls are still there, or something along that line. So it will discuss that, as well as the education and the whole process from beginning to end, and it's just an amazing thing. And one of the items that I had just discovered is declassified documents of Belgium contacting America for help over time, saying how brutal Germany was. And eventually they started sending them images of things that they are doing to the people and to the women, the children and men. And so finally, eventually, that's not necessarily the purpose of why we went over there, but it's a lead up in that era to, finding out why we did go to war.
Right.
But it will be an amazing book that will not only be in English, but it will be in Dutch and also an interactive PDF. Because the interviews that I'm doing are actually videotaped. Just like my previous book.
Wow. And, once again, getting this out here and finding that audience here in the United States, and building that, it's hard with, projects like this to get those things off the ground, isn't it?
It is, and it's hard, especially doing it on my own, financially and physically. It's rough, but if I can help or save something at least once, then I've done my job. And I know my prior books have actually changed the lives of several people, and which is amazing. And I hit my goal on that, But this, I think our youth today, this society today and for future generations really need to understand, what our history has done for their freedom,
Yeah.
for them to be able to do the things that they're doing today, and not know. People don't know that Hitler was in World War One, and what Hitler tried to do with Mexico against America.
Yeah.
They don't know this stuff, and I think if they do understand that, then they might have a different perspective of the overall idea of everything.
Yeah.
But
it is a passion and a quest, So if there's many people out there been bitten by the gene. Sometimes we feel the frustration of like, why can't you understand my passion, And how many times do you go to pitch a book project or a history project and things like that, and they say, stuff, we don't really want to go there. And there are a lot of that already out there or stuff like that. But to each one of us, stuff, the journey is personal.
yes,
And
yes.
you know what? And when it gets in your soul, and you realize the value of it and what you're trying to pass off to future generations and stuff, you don't want to fail.
Right.
You do not want to fail. And I think you actually become part of the spirit of the soldiers that fought the battles and stuff. I look at you as just another extension of the soldiers that went over there, because you're still sitting there carrying on for them to complete their mission. And that mission and stuff is once again coming back here and sharing the gifts of freedom and helping people understand that they say, like, well, I don't know how a war fought over in Belgium, has anything to do with my life here in sunny Southern California.
Right.
But you know what? Through your stories and things like that, you draw that conclusion to say, like, this is how it affected your life. And once again, I think a lot of it too is just, once again, understanding the human psyche, and people willing to do things on behalf of others, which is one of the greatest gifts to mankind. Is it's a well-used phrase, stuff. Lay your life down for a complete stranger and stuff is one of the most biblical things that you can do. So I'm actually kind of getting, I'm getting into this just probably a little bit too much and everything and stuff, and so and it's probably a good time to take a break. Okay, so I don't think I've ever started crying on this show yet. It's like, and everything, but anyway, it's a good thing. So we'll be right back here with Jodi, and we'll finish up with some cool things Jodi actually did for me, and on her trip over there, and we'll wrap this thing up. So we'll be right back.
I'm Bob Alvis, and thanks for joining us for this segment of AV Veterans Talk.